Okay, guys. So, I'm going to move on to the next book. I said I was going to do a couple out of, but that gets into the individual plants. So I'm going to wait a bit on that one. The Lost Superfoods. How to make delicious lard with 2-year shelf life, plus 5 tasty recipes. So, I'm going to hold that up, and I will get a picture of that and put it on the front of my... Actually, maybe I'll do that. Do that picture right there. Alright. When the trees start to slowly lose their leaves and autumn settles in, it means that it's that time of the year. It's that time of the year dedicated to making lard at home for the winter. It's not a can of pop, it's one of those bubbly things. It's an easy process that can be done by anyone, but calls for knowing a few techniques. So I will show you how you can make your own lard in 5 different ways of using it. First, you will need some fat. I will be using 11 pounds of pig fat and a little bit of chicken fat. Place the fat on a cutting board and cut it into small cubes. After cutting it all up, grab a normal pot and first add a cup of water because this way the fat won't burn onto the pot. Then add the cubes of fat. After placing everything inside, you can start melting the fat. The cooking should take about 2 hours. When the fat cubes start to turn golden brown and harden, take the pot off the fire. This is how it looked after the 2-hour mark when it was finished. And that's where that photo came in. At this point, you will be left with 2 things, the melted fat and greaves, which are a byproduct of the melted fat. Both can be served warm or cold depending on your preferences. Here are the chicken greaves after separating them from the fat. Excuse me, you can't really see that. Using a potato masher, I was able to extract more fat from the greaves. Gently and slowly push the greaves down until most of the fat is being removed from the inside. Do this while everything is still hot. This way you can remove the fat before it solidifies. Doing right there. Now remove the greaves from the potato masher, and you can already see that they are way drier than before. After finishing up, I was left with 2.20 pounds of greaves and 3.5 liters of lard. Eat as they are. The greaves can be eaten by itself with some bread, salt, and onions. Ew, I'll pass on the onions. There's that right there. Tasty spreading, or you can turn them into a spreading. Follow this recipe. 1 pound of greaves, 0.20 ounces of garlic, 1/2 ounce of onion, 3 teaspoons of mustard, 1 teaspoon of regular pepper to taste, 1 teaspoon of ground pepper, and 1 teaspoon of salt, preferably the Redmond's real salt. Using a meat grinder, you can create a paste that will surely fill your stomach. Of course, eat it with bread, onions, and salt. Forget the onion, gross. It's extremely tasty and satisfying. Greaves scones. You can also use the greaves for something more complex but twice as delicious. Greaves scones, which are great tasting. Salty scones, perfect to snack on while drinking cold beer. Gross. Ingredients: 1 cup of flour, 5.5 ounces of ground greaves, 2 tablespoons of yeast, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 eggs, farm fresh is best, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1/2 cup of milk, fresh milk is the best, 1 tablespoon of sour cream, preferably sour cream you've made yourself out of your own fresh milk from your own dairy cow or dairy goats, and 1 teaspoon of, I'm going to say, raw cane sugar. Start by warming the milk on the stove. Next, add the sugar and the yeast. Mix everything else together. Add the yolk of 1 egg only. The other egg and the rest of the egg white will be spread on top of the scones. In a bowl, mix everything else together in a bowl, then add the milk to it. Mix it all together and let the dough rise for an hour in a warm place. Make small circular scones, cutting a grid on top of them. Mix the egg white left from before together with the whole egg and brush it on top of the scones. Finally, place the scones in the oven, cooking them until they all turn golden brown. And that's what they should look like. For lard on bread. The lard we've previously collected will cool down and solidify, getting a white color. Spreading this on bread is one of the great ways to use it. Eat it with onion, salt, and a little bit of pepper powder. Onion, gross. No. 5. Pork and lard for long time storage. If you have a few slices of pork, you might be able to make something that is not only delicious to be eaten fresh, but can also be put away to stay fresh for half a year. So 6 months. First, grab some of the solidified lard we've made and place it in a skillet. While the lard is getting hot, tenderize the slices and season it to your liking. After you are done, put it into fry. Cook it a little until it starts to change color, then take it out of the skillet and do the same with the rest of the slices. After the slices are done, put it back onto the skillet with a lower the temperature. Add more lard and a little bit of garlic, onion, peppers, and tomato, or place vegetables in using your own taste. Cook the slices until the meat dries. The drier the meat, the longer its shelf life will be. When we are finished with the meat, place them into a jar. Add the lard we fried the meat in for taste and to increase its shelf life. Put it away into a cold area and let it be a storage room or the fridge. Interesting. Probably not something we're going to do. Alright, and the next is going to be canning Amish poor man's steak. So, I'm going to go ahead and get off from here and I'll get that up there. I don't know if I'm going to do the next one out of there, but I will definitely put this one up there. And I might just move on to the self-sufficient backyard. So I will see you guys in a few minutes. Bye, guys.